Bataan Peninsula, April 9, 1942. General Edward King has surrendered his starved, diseased, and exhausted troops, approximately 14,000 Americans and 60,000 Filipinos, who together had been holding off the invading Japanese for 4 months. The ensuing days and weeks would come to be known as the Bataan Death March because of all of the atrocities that were committed on that road. Then, on May 6, 1942, General Jonathan Wainwright surrenders approximately 12,000 Allied soldiers, sailors, and Marines from the tiny island of Corregidor, just off Manila Bay, and all of the Allied forces who'd been fighting together against the Japanese in the Philippines. Together, they would suffer, try to survive, but in many cases perish during their captivity. Now, over 60 years later, some are still with us to tell their stories. What are we talking about now, Mount Samat?
Yeah, Mount Samat. And that's when our first sergeant got killed and we got the motor. He got up, and I was in there reporting that I couldn't connect with the Philippine Army. And he got up and he looked, we was under some bamboo. We had our CP in there, and he looked out and he said, Christ's sake, look at all these Japs coming down the hill. And I raised up and I looked, and about that time a mortar come in and killed him, and assisted Wrangler and Doug Bowen was the 2 sergeants, and he killed them, and like I say, hit the company commander, was hit 3 times, and the runner lost his leg.
The fear was that this was going to become a great bloodbath. The Japanese were going to mount a final assault and just essentially kill everyone. So, General King decides this is the time to do it.
The legend of America's invincibility died on April 9, 1942. For the first time in our history, we surrendered an army and failed to shield a nation under our protection. Another myth seemingly died: MacArthur's greatness as a military commander in the eyes of the Asian world. This defeat was an irreversible loss of face, not only for him, but for the United States of America.
And so I was so thirsty, I went out the line, and this Japanese saw me, the guard. He chased me and hit me right in the head and in my back. And he hit me, and then I think he was waiting for me to fell on the ground. So when I fell on the ground, he's going to shoot me, but I just took his beating and went back to the line without succeeding to drink.
I remember a lot of them, unfortunately. Well, I don't want to tell their names. I don't need to have a chance one of their next of kin or family members will happen to hear how he died. That would not be pleasant. But it was unnecessary to have to watch a buddy of yours fall by the wayside. He couldn't walk anymore. The Japanese take a bayonet and put it through his heart. Yeah, that's pretty rough. Watching a man have his head cut off, don't kid yourself. That's rough. And that stays with you for the rest of your life. You never forget it.
We called him the Mad Colonel. I think he was a major, I don't know. And he got up and, yeah, he told us that the Occidental, is an enemy of the Oriental. And he said, we don't beat you this time, we'll beat you next time. Because we've been fighting you for 100 years. He was a real cookie. And he said, you Americans are dogs, and I'm going to treat you like a dog. And he did.
He showed utter disdain and hate for Americans from the very start. When he looked at us, it was a hateful look, but he had the guards search us. If any were found, and some were, with Japanese currency or any Japanese souvenir that we may have gotten on Bataan from Japanese prisoners, he would order them behind his cabin, behind his quarters, and order them shot or their heads cut off.
You are enemies of Japan. You are not honorable prisoners of war. You are captives, and you shall be treated as captives. There is no escape from this camp. Anyone who tries to escape will be shot. Your country has forgotten your name. Your loved ones no longer weep for you. You will shortly be joined by your comrades, those who survived the Imperial Army invasion of Corregidor.
I heard you say earlier that our American soldiers in the Philippines were abandoned 3 times.
Dan, that's correct. They were abandoned the first time when they were left without any kind of defense whatsoever following the bombing of Pearl Harbor and when they first attacked. There was no defense that was being mounted at that time because America was totally involved in Europe at that time. The second abandonment took place when the San Francisco Treaty took place in 1951. It had been negotiated over a period of years. Our American GIs were the only allies that were never compensated nor received any kind of acknowledgement or recognition from any government for their heroism during that period of time and their service as prisoners of war and slaves. The third time they've been abandoned have been the years since that time in which they have made repeated efforts before Congress to get that corrected. It was promised to them in 1951 when the Secretary of War said, "We will take care of our own," and not ask any reparations from Japan. Unfortunately, that never happened, and to this day, it has never happened. That's 3 abandonments. You know, we know that we don't abandon our comrades on the field. At least that's what we like to think. We did, 3 times to them.